whatever, risks, economics, big finances and all that stuff, coming straight to the land of solitude. And we need that, isn't it? Don't we? We need that, especially now. My immense pleasure, I can't express my deepest honor, and sitting beside the monk, that's all I can say. I'm like about 80%, 70-80% of you know me, that I have hailed from an ashram, and I was raised by my Pishima. So that's what has actually influenced me a little bit in whatever the life I have now. And we have known him for a little while, not too long ago I have met him. So one of the things that I learned from him, he never calls a religion a religion. He calls religion as a field of study. And taking the page out of the chapter from Swamiji, he always believes in one thing, that we are proud to call ourselves a student at that study, which teaches us to overcome obstacles, bring solitude in our lives, and bring that shanti that we all need, and to be able to take everything within. Vedanta Society of New York has been the home of some of the most illustrious monks in the Ramakrishna order. And I'm very happy to see quite a few faces here that we call ourselves Ramakrishnites. For those of us who some of us went to Belur, some of us went to Rohara, myself. I see some folks from Narendrapur. One of the exponents from the Ramakrishna order is Swami Sarvapriyananda. He has been the minister and spiritual leader of the Vedanta Society of New York since January 2017. He joined the Ramakrishna Math in 1994 and received sannyas in 2004. He served as an acharya of the monastic probationers training center at Belur Math. He also served in various capacities in different educational institutes of the Ramakrishna Mission in India and as the assistant minister of the Vedanta Society of Southern California. During 2019-2020, he was an inaugural fellow at the Harvard Divinity School. Swami Sarvapriyananda is a well-known speaker on Vedanta, and his talks are exemplary and extremely popular globally via the internet. We are all very, very thankful, grateful to be able to hear him speak live in front of us. I must tell you that. He has been a speaker on various prestigious forums like TEDx, SAND, Google Talk, etc. He has also been invited to speak at several universities across the world, including Harvard University. The Swami has engaged in dialogue with many eminent speakers, such as Deepak Chopra, Rupert Spira. You told me about that, your interactions with Rupert Spira, Rick Archer, David Chalmers, and Sam Harris. He has played a prominent role in organizing and participating in various interfaith panels and seminars, including speaking at the World Parliament of Religion, which Swamiji himself started in Toronto in 2018, and at the United Nations headquarters in New York. Some of Swamiji's popular talks have been compiled into ebooks. Who Am I? As many of us are aware of that. What is Vedanta? And Dissolve into Infinity. They are right now currently available in Amazon Kindle. So without any further ado, I'm going to sit right there. I'm not going to be here. It's not going to be proper for me to stand here and sit here beside you. I want you to enthrall us, please. or I want you to take as long as it is needed. Please say whatever you can. We are just going to be, what we're going to hear now is divine. That's what I am looking forward to that, and I'm sure this 300 odd people, they are looking forward to that. Over to you, Swamiji.
Thank you. Actually, just before this, I asked them how long can I speak, and I was reminded of, there was this Vice Chancellor's conference a few years ago in India, where one gentleman, a Vice Chancellor, and only Vice Chancellors can do this, I mean, if you know Vice Chancellors. So he asked the organizers, how long may I speak? And the reply was immediate, you may speak as long as you like, sir. We will leave at 5 o'clock. I am really grateful to Kallol for having me here and giving me this opportunity to meet all of you today, this evening, and speak about Vedanta and spiritual life. By the way, I was most benefited by listening to Nanditadi speak just now. You know, there's this psychologist, Albert Bandura, and he coined the term self-efficacy, which means the feeling that one is capable of meeting most challenges that come up in life. So if one has gone through and achieved a lot in life, you develop this self-efficacy. This is something that marks, not especially someone like Nanditadi, but also I think most people here, one of the most successful immigrant communities in the world, it's built on this self-efficacy, the feeling, the capacity that I can face challenges in life and overcome. When she was talking about how she started off as a teller and worked her way up to CEO, I was reminded, Sister Nivedita, she once was asking a lot of questions to Swamiji, to Swami Vivekananda. And at one point she felt whether he was getting offended. And so she asked, Swamiji, are you upset that I'm asking so many questions? And I'm arguing with you. And Swami Vivekananda said, I argued with my master for 6 long years, with Thakur, with Sri Ramakrishna. And as a result, he picked up a pebble. He said, I'm as strong as that, as strong as this, as hard as this. I know every inch of the way. I know every inch of the way. Let none regret that they have had doubts. Let none regret that they have questions, that they have arguments. So today I'll speak in brief, and I'll end before your patience is exhausted. And then we can have some question answers. That's more interesting, I think. Let me start with a chant, and then we'll go ahead. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityurma Amritam Gamaya Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om. Lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from darkness unto light. Lead us from death to immortality. Oh, peace, peace, peace. So nominally the subject for this evening's talk was mindfulness and spiritual insights into life. And that reminded me immediately about a word which Sri Ramakrishna used to define spirituality. One word. He would define spirituality with one word, and the word was a Bengali word, manush. And he would say, manushkina man hush. He had really had a way of, punning with words, an amazing way. But man hush. Man, we know, man means dignity, respect, our position in life. So, our ethical, spiritual nature, that is our man, who we are as human beings. And he added to that hush. Hush means an awareness. So, awareness of our own greatness. Swami Vivekananda later put it in the sense, in the terms of the potential divinity within each of us. So man hush, an awareness of our man, our dignity as ethical beings, as spiritual beings. This hush, that word is in the subject as mindfulness. Mindfulness is a very topical thing these days, very popular in the United States, mindfulness. But mindful of what? Mindful of our nature, of our nature as spiritual beings, as ethical beings. A couple of years back in the Vedanta Society in New York, we did a retreat on meditation techniques. It was in the Garrison Institute in upstate New York, various meditation techniques. And before that, I had a talk with Professor Arindam Chakravarti, who is one of the leading Indian philosophers of the world today. I mean, I would unashamedly say that he is the leading living Indian philosopher in the world today, but one has to be a little more politically correct and say one of the greatest living philosophers today. So when I told him that we are going to have this kind of a workshop on meditation techniques, he said, "Khub bhalo Maharaj, very good. What you do is teach each of those techniques individually on their own merit. Ekta character সঙ্গে মেশাবেন না. And at the end of it all, have at least a little bit of reflection on what is common to all of that." And so that was a very interesting thing. We studied Buddhist mindfulness, then we studied Kashmiri Shaivism, the Soham Hamsa meditation. We studied a dualistic devotional meditation. We studied non-dual Advaitic meditation. And at the end, as he had suggested, just a few minutes we reflected and it became very clear what is common to all meditation techniques. So what is common to all meditation techniques is that it gives you control over the power of attention. It is the training of the power of attention. We all have a limited fund of attention. How we use it, where we use it, that determines the quality of our life. The poet Milton said, "The mind in its own place can make a heaven of hell or a hell of heaven." আমার এই কথাটা এত দামি লেগেছিল, it's so amazing. We all, especially in a community like this, you all know of examples who have come up from most difficult circumstances and turned that into quote-unquote heaven. We all know of examples of people born with a silver spoon in their mouths with all possible advantages and privileges who have ruined their lives, who have turned heaven into hell. So the mind in its own place can turn hell into heaven and heaven into hell. And one of the crucial factors is this power of attention. What we are paying attention to and how much attention we are paying to it. I sometimes have mentioned the work of Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, who was a leading authority in psychology here in America, but he was from Eastern Europe. And his whole life's work was on this power of attention, on training, on focus, concentration. And he said that determined the quality of a person's life. উনি সম্প্রতি মারা গেলেন বোধহয় গত বছর, I think. But his book, I've often recommended this, Flow. That book is what reading, Flow. What is spirituality all about? What is this man hush? All of us, we are seeking happiness. All of us, we are seeking to overcome unhappiness. You don't have to be a spiritual person, you don't have to be a Vedantist or Buddhist or anything. All of us, it's natural to us. Nobody asks, why do you want to be happy? We want to be happy. Nobody asks, why do you want to overcome suffering? Nobody likes suffering. We want to overcome suffering. Physical, mental, emotional, psychological, intellectual. We want to overcome this suffering. Now the thing is, whatever we are doing in life is the pursuit of this. Trying to attain some kind of fulfillment and trying to overcome suffering, felt suffering in our lives and the lives of people who are close to us. The first lesson we learned, economics, we were just discussing with Nandita Di. I remember the first lesson we learned in an economics class as undergrads. Economics is the science which helps us to satisfy unlimited wants with limited resources. So it's an impossible task, but unlimited wants with limited resources. The first thing you learn in any economics class. So, we are trying to attain this fulfillment. And the problem is, after some time, it's a sign of maturity to see that it's not working. It's not working. In whatever way we have tried, through sense pleasures, through food and through art and culture, through education and learning, through achievement and doing well in life, earning money, doing well in life, in career, through family, all of it gives some kind of happiness, but not deep, not lasting, and not enough. So always problems, The scholar of religion, Houston Smith, those who have studied religion, his classic book is there. At one time it was called The Religions of Man. Now, more politically correct, it's called The World's Religions. A book on comparative religion. There he says that after you have enjoyed everything in the world, taken a look at everything, even the highest products of culture, he's talking about Western culture, Bach, Beethoven, Mozart, whatever, you're still left with this nagging question, is that all? Very soon life will be over. Isn't there anything more to it than this? So this question is answered by spirituality. And when I say spirituality, I mean spirituality in all the great religious traditions of humanity. I don't mean just my own Vedanta or in Hinduism. In every religion, the core of religion, which is what I call spirituality, there the promise is this quest for ultimate fulfillment, happiness, and for overcoming suffering. It is possible. It can be done. It has been done by thousands of people throughout human history, in every civilization. And we must all, as we become mature, we must all take it up seriously, this spiritual quest. Swami Vivekananda put it very well. When he came to this country, 1893, World Parliament of Religions, 1894, he came to New York and established the Vedanta Society of New York, where I am right now. He would often quote the Sanskrit original here in the United States when he would talk to Americans. Shrinvantu Vishve Amritasya Putraha Aye Dhamani Divyani Tastu Vedaham Purusham Mahantam Aditya Varnam Tamasah Parastat Tameva Viditva Ati Mrityumeti Nanyah Pantha Vidyate Ayanaya. Listen, ye children of immortal bliss. Kono Rishi Kono Kale bolechen. We don't even know exactly who said it. Listen, ye children of immortal bliss. I'm going to tell you something that is even the gods in the heavens. Devatarao janen namon kasar bolbo ekhon. So what is that? Vedaham Purusham Mahantam. There is an infinite being, Purusham Mahantam, and I have realized that. If you realize that, all right, what is it like, this Purusham Mahantam? Aditya Varnam, blazing forth like the sun, not with the material light, with the light of consciousness. Tamasah Parastat, forever beyond darkness. Beyond the darkness of mortality, unhappiness, limitation. There is such a reality. And if you realize that, then what happens? If you find that reality, tameva viditva ati mrityumeti, you go beyond death. We just chanted now, mrityum amritam gamaya, lead us from death to immortality. So that is the promise of spirituality, of spiritual life. You go beyond human limitations, you go beyond human unhappiness, attain true fulfillment. Ati mrityumeti goes beyond death. Nothing else, is there no other way? Can't we go beyond death by, technology? Nowadays in Silicon Valley, they're actually thinking of uploading human consciousness into the cloud or something, so you can become immortal. Nanyah Pantha Vidyate Ayanaya. There is no other path. The only path is through spiritual life. I heard there's this very well-known psychologist, R.D. Laing, in England, several decades ago. He said human beings are afraid of three things. We are all afraid of three things. First and foremost, common fear, fear of death. You might say, I'm not afraid of death. I don't even think about it. You don't think about it. So we suppress it. So fear of death, that's one. Our human mortality, that's one. Second, we are afraid of our own minds. We are afraid of our own minds. That's, I think, a very subtle and wonderful insight. We are afraid of ourselves. আমি কি যে করে ফেলবো, কি যে বলে ফেলবো, কি যে ভেবে ফেলবো, I don't know. So that mind. And the third thing we are afraid of is other people. We are afraid of other people in some way. Sometimes terrified of them, sometimes unhappy with them, sometimes depressed, sometimes disappointed with them. But in many ways, we are afraid of other people. And spirituality is a way of solving all of these fears, of going beyond fear. When Janak Raja attained enlightenment, his guru Ashtavakra told him, Abhayam vai prapto si Janaka. O Janaka, O emperor, Brahmagyan hoyeche, Bhagavan labh hoyeche. He didn't say that. He said, you have attained, you have gone beyond fear. Abhayam vai prapto si. You have attained fearlessness. It is possible. It is possible. Somebody asked me, in fact, my sister, I have a cousin. So when I became a monk, 12 years later, I spoke with her. She is a very accomplished professor in ISI Kolkata. The first question she asked me, "Are tu barit theke paliye geli keno? Why did you run up from home? What were you seeking to accomplish?" I said that, in my house we had books of Vivekananda lying around, and I was lucky to belong to the last, probably the last pre-internet generation. So we read a lot of books. I said that the books were saying that God realization is possible. Brahmogyan, God realization, moksha, nirvana, whatever you call it. Eta ekta jinish shotti eta hoy. It's possible. And I believed it, that it is sambhav. And I felt, why not do this? I looked at our parents, uncle, aunt, my father, mother, grandparents. Gyan Yoga, the approach of the path of Advaita Vedanta is very unique and subtle. It says, not a question of belief like bhakti, not even a question of mystical experience like the yogi. The problem with mystical experience is only Thakur Sri Ramakrishna is seeing Ma Kali. The rest of the people, if you read Kathamritam, jara pashe pashe ache, tara shraddhar sange dekhche, but they are not seeing Ma Kali. একজন মিস্টিক এসে বলল আমি ভগবানকে দেখছি, but we are not seeing. It's not a common experience, and hence we doubt it. অনুভব হতে পারে, কিন্তু আমারটা এখনো হয়নি, so we doubt it. The path of knowledge is unique and extraordinary. Advaita Vedanta, what it says is not a question of belief, it's a question of knowledge. Not even a question of extraordinary mystical experience. All that is needed in the path of Advaita Vedanta is our daily experience. By daily experience, what I mean is a subject object. Ami dekhchi, apnader dekhchi ami. And the subject, you are the object. All our experiences like this. Tatei drishya vivek arambha hote pare. Or my daily experience of waking, dreaming, deep sleep. Karne. You don't have to be a mystic to have Jagrat, Shapna, Sushupti. Everybody has it. And Advaita Vedanta says, tahalei habe. That's enough. Our inquiry can start from there. Or the experience of having a physical body, a shukha sharir, mane amar mon ache, buddhi ache, panchakosh vichar, arambha hote pare. All that is needed is our quotidian experience, our daily experience, what we all have all the time. Based on that, there is a philosophical investigation, a logical investigation. The word for that is vichara. Vichara. Another technical word for that is vivek, from which the name Vivekananda has come. That's why I'm telling you, when I take this to some leading thinkers in the world today, neuroscientists, philosophers of mind, in NYU, at Harvard, different places, it is received very well. See, if I go there and say that আপনাকে কৃষ্ণ ভক্তি করতে হবে কি কালী ভক্তি করতে হবে, they'll dismiss it straight away. And they are not interested. Or if I say that if you do meditation like this, you will get that experience, they might be interested, but not so much. But when you go on the basis of common day-to-day experience and then do a philosophical investigation, in
in the nature of consciousness. They are very interested, very interested. We are living in a time, especially here in the United States, in New York, I've seen their leading thinkers, we are very seriously interested in consciousness studies. It was not so 20, 30 years ago. Evan Thompson, who is a professor of philosophy in the University of British Columbia, he wrote a book, Waking, Dreaming, Being. Waking, Dreaming, Being. And he begins that book by saying that consciousness studies is not a modern field. Consciousness studies first started 5,000 years ago in the Indus Valley in the text called the Upanishads. He says that. He goes further on in that book to say that these Upanishads were such extraordinary texts in human history, the history of human civilization, the history of human thought, that truly speaking, our history should be marked before Upanishad and after Upanishad, not AD BC. Before Upanishad and after Upanishad. আমরা হিন্দু হইও অতটা জোর দিয়ে বলতে পারি না, এই সাহেব বলছেন যে কথা. So consciousness studies is now a very hot field now, and there is something that Advaita Vedanta, Sankhya, various schools of Buddhist and Jaina theories of consciousness, they can contribute to this present dialogue. In fact, David Chalmers, who's maybe the leading philosopher of mind today, his latest book, Reality Plus, খুলে দেখবেন, you'll be very interested to see. আমরা তো জানি সবাই গল্প, কৃষ্ণ আর নারদের গল্প। নারদ বলছেন যে ভগবানকে মায়াটা কি দেখিয়ে দিন, এইসব কার্টুন করে বসানো আছে ওখানে। ভার্চুয়াল রিয়ালিটির সঙ্গে মায়ার সিমিলারিটিস। হলিউড হ্যাজ a role to play. আভাতার মুভি টুভি যেগুলো হয়েছে এখন সব। So some kind of these ideas are spreading at popular culture and at the academic level, at the intellectual level also. One more point and I'm done. Bhakti Jog holo, Raj Jog holo, Gyan Jog holo, but very important, Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga is transformation of our daily activities into spiritual practice. See, if we split our secular life from our spiritual life, both will suffer. If my secular life is divorced from spirituality, very soon it becomes like those group of zeros without the one. Very soon it becomes meaningless. Many people suffer from meaninglessness in life. And spiritual practice, if you divorce from your secular life, the demands of your job, the demands of your family life, these are so much. Very little time and energy is left for spiritual practice. How much time is there for meditation? How much energy is there for study of Gita, Upanishads, and so on? So they have to be combined. That which takes up your maximum time and energy, that has to be spiritualized. That was the central teaching of the Bhagavad Gita. When Arjuna wanted to run away from the battlefield, Krishna brought him back into the battlefield, but gave him a spiritual vision of his duty in life. How can I convert my day-to-day activities into spiritual practice? Sister Nivedita, introducing the complete works of Swami Vivekananda, she says, the greatest contribution of Vivekananda, and Thakur, still Vivekananda, she says, is that the one and the many are the same reality. One is ultimate reality, Brahman, Ishwar, God, whatever you put it. And many is this. They are the same reality. And then she goes on to say, this is what makes Vivekananda the great teacher of jnana and bhakti, action and spirituality combined, not divorced from each other. And this is what, and she says, henceforth, no difference between work and worship. To labor is to pray. To have and hold is as sacred a trust as to quit and renounce. Quit and renounce, Prannashi. Have and hold, the Grihastha ekhane, at a family, at a job, at an organization, toiri korche. That can be also spiritual. Automatically spiritual, but it can be spiritualized. And she goes on to write that according to Vivekananda, the shopkeeper, the shop of the shopkeeper, the classroom of the teacher, the workshop of the worker, they are as fit a place for the meeting of God and the human as the cell of a monk, as the meditation chamber of a monk. So, spiritualizing our day-to-day activities. এক কথায় যদি বলতে হয়, একজন বললো যে এইসব ধর্ম বাদ দিয়ে আমাকে চারটে যোগের এসেন্স এক কথায় বোঝাতে পারে। So I made an attempt. The essence of Karma Yoga is selfless, not selfish. The essence of Bhakti Yoga is love, not desire. The essence of Raja Yoga, meditation, is concentration, not distraction. आजकल का जुगे खूब दरकार है. And then finally, the essence of Jnana Yoga is self-knowledge, not other knowledge. এই কথা বলে আমি শেষ করছি. Thank you so much for having me here. If you have any questions, you can ask. Yes, this gentleman there. Please.
Okay, I'm going to go to the young guy, please.
Okay.
Yeah, with glasses. You can ask. Yeah, please ask the question.
Yes.
So my name is Shaul, and ever since I saw your video that who am I always wanted to ask this question. So my question may be stupid, but the thing is, my question is about consciousness. So my understanding, what is the difference between, or what is the relation between life and consciousness? Like when we say life is
Okay.
cells, as in like bacteria.
Right. I think I get your question. Let me repeat it for the audience. The young man there is asking, what is the relationship between life and consciousness? It's a really good question. See, I'll give you the Vedantic way of thinking and the way of thinking which we have. Well, we have all been educated in schools and colleges, more or less have the same paradigm of education. আমরা তো কেউ প্রাচীন পণ্ডিতি মেথডে পড়াশোনা করিনি, we have gone to school, college, university. So remember how we were taught. We were from the school days, I still remember, distinguish between living and non-living. দু নম্বর দিতে হতো, চারটে পয়েন্ট এদিকে চারটে পয়েন্ট এদিকে এরকম দেওয়া, living and non-living. So that's what we have been taught. আমাদের মাথার মধ্যে ওইটা আছে, living and non-living. But the way Vedanta thinks is very interesting. Conscious and not conscious. And the Vedantic way is very elegant. What is consciousness? You. And what is not consciousness? Anything that you can have as an object to your consciousness, anything that you are aware of is not consciousness. That which is aware is consciousness. Who is aware? You are. What are you aware of? Whatever you are aware of is not consciousness. So this table is not consciousness, this microphone is not consciousness, mobile phone is not consciousness, chat GPT is not consciousness. Then even you might say, but then এতগুলো মানুষ এরা কি consciousness নয়, এরা কি conscious নয়? Notice something. You are aware of their bodies, you are aware of their behavior, you are aware of their language. You are not aware of their consciousness. Consciousness never becomes an object. Not only that, my own body, I'm aware of it, so it's not conscious. My own mind, I'm aware of it. Thoughts, feelings, ideas, even the mind is not conscious. This is something that's very different from modern consciousness studies in the West. In Sankhya, Advaita, in most Indian philosophies, they distinguish between mind and consciousness. So this is the distinction. Living and what is the relationship to the mapping korte hai? If you want to map consciousness with living. Now what Advaita Vedanta will say, and Sankhya also, is that what you call life in terms of Vedanta is called the Pranamaya Kosh, the vital function. Pran, basically pran. Literally it means life. Wherever this Pranamaya is there, what is present is called a Sukshma Sharir, Shukha Sharir. This body is the Sthul Sharir, physical body. And in that we have a subtle body. You might say, what is the Shukha Sharir ki? We are all feeling it right now. If you are thinking, if you are remembering, if you are enjoying, suffering, that's a subtle body. So this subtle body which goes with the prana, there are three components to it: Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya. These three have the unique capacity of reflecting consciousness. All these, they're all objects, they're not conscious. Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, konotai conscious nahi. But it has a peculiar capacity of reflecting consciousness. So it appears to be conscious. The paradigm used is like light. That's a source of light. Now if I take a shiny object, it's not a source of light, but it can reflect light. And it can behave like a luminosity, like the moon. So it reflects sunlight. But at night, it behaves like a luminous object. So prana, to directly answer your question, Prana, life, is something that channelizes consciousness or reflects consciousness. So that's why pure consciousness, according to Advaita Vedanta, that's our real nature, Atman, Brahman. But in these living bodies, we have a manifestation of consciousness, as a result of which we think, hear, we smell, we taste, we touch, we behave in ways which are called, chetan, conscious. This is the connection. There is a connection between life and consciousness. If the life goes away, the manifestation of consciousness goes away. Consciousness itself doesn't go away. If I remove a new moon night, moon আর reflect করছে না light কে. So sunlight is still there, but we don't get any light at the night. Yeah, so there's a difference. The lady there, yes. Yes.
So are we not a part of one consciousness? We're all separate consciousness, or are we part of?
So are we one consciousness? These are classic questions in Advaita Vedanta, depending on whom you ask. So all schools of Vedanta, they all take us as that consciousness. But part or whole. So if you say there is one ultimate consciousness, call it God, and we are all small sparks of consciousness, that would be Dvaita Vedanta, dualistic Vedanta. There is one all-comprehending, organic, one consciousness, and we are all part of it, not separate. That would be Vishishta Dvaita Vedanta. But no part and whole, no difference. Each one of us is exactly that one consciousness. That is Advaita Vedanta. You might say, how can each, then how are there thousands of people? So again, that reflection theory will come. Just imagine the sun is shining in the sky. Not today, you can't see it, but suppose without any clouds, sun is shining down, and there are many pots, say 10 pots of water. Then in each pot of water, you will see a reflected sun. How many suns are actually there? One. How many reflections? As many pots of water you put. You put 100 pots of water, you'll get 100 reflected suns. And they will all function a little bit like the real sun. Because they'll all be luminous, they'll all illumine a little bit. Ekটু টিম টিম করে জ্বলবে ওখানে. Or the barber's shop. You go to a barber's shop and you see in the mirrors, how many faces do you see? As many mirrors and as many reflections you get, hundreds of faces. How many real faces? One face. So Advaita Vedanta says, Tattvamasi, you are that one limitless consciousness, reflected in that body as that particular reflected consciousness, there as that one, here as this one, but we are all one consciousness. That's the Advaita Vedanta approach.
Yeah, first thing that you are very handsome and your speech is really attractive. But my question is that I have heard God bless you all the time. Last 60 years I am listening, God bless you. Really God can bless anybody. Like I have seen Sai Baba. So he at least bring the Rasagolla, he can bring the sweets and everything. I didn't see any God that who can give you even a glass of water. So my question, God bless you. Does it have any meaning?
Yes.
Or-
Does it have any meaning? Is it literally true, or does it have any meaning at all? It has some meaning in the sense, like when you wish somebody well. Bhalo ho, bhalo thako. When you say that to somebody whom you like. Now it may be that you are not able to do anything, but it's a good wish for somebody. So God bless you. In that sense, of course, culturally it is true. But literally also it is true. ভগবান হঠাৎ আকাশ থেকে রসগোল্লা পেড়ে দিচ্ছেন তা নয়, কিন্তু from a Vedantic perspective, God's blessings are everywhere. Where এই যে শরীরটা আছে, according to Vedanta, this body itself is given by God. এই যে মনটা আছে, this mind is given by God. যে এই যে সংসার আছে, এই যে সোসাইটি যার মধ্যে আমরা আছি, বাস করছি, এখানে ভালো মন্দ, everything is given by God. If you follow Vedanta, the exact. I'll tell you. What do you mean by given by God? Literally, from a Vedantic perspective, it is nothing other than God. In this sense, that Vedanta bole, what is this universe? It's a key from a Vedantic perspective. Which is abhinna nimitta upadana karana. Ishwar or Bhagavan, God, in the English language, Brahma in our Vedantic terminology. It is the material cause of this universe. এই জগৎটা কি দিয়ে তৈরি? Vedanta will say ultimately it is nothing but existence consciousness bliss. Brahmai, Bhagavani ye sab jagat hoyeche. In that sense, everything here, good and bad, is given to you by God. In another sense, Kripa, grace of God, blessings. Sri Ramakrishna's words. কৃপার বাতাস তো সবসময় বইছে বইছে পাল তুলে দাও. So remember he lived near the Ganga in Dakshineshwar. So he would see these boats and they would have the sail. So he says the wind of grace is always blowing. You raise your sail. তো নিজের পাল তুলে দাও তো ধরতে পারবে, অনুভব করতে পারবে. So yes, আমরা মেনে নিচ্ছি যে ঈশ্বরের ব্লেসিংস আছে. তার অ্যাডভান্টেজ, ইউ হ্যাভ টু টেক অ্যাডভান্টেজ অফ দ্যাট.
তোমার কোশ্চেন তুমি তাড়াতাড়ি বলো বাপ্পাদা বলো প্লিজ অনেকক্ষণ না
Swamiji, we heard you talk about moving to the next phase of life with self-actualization and spiritual habits and so on. So my question is there inherent conflict in the construct that we are doing it for our own self-interest because we would like to move to the next plane of life, but in dharmic religions, anything driven by self-interest is not kosher. So what are your thoughts on that?
Right. So anything driven by self-interest is not kosher, he says. So as we move forward, you see, he was saying it sounds like you're telling us to move into self-actualization using terms from Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Now, this movement into self-actualization, but beyond that, I recently I had interaction with a Maslow scholar, Abraham Maslow, in the last years of his life. He actually went beyond that pyramid of the hierarchy of needs, and he said there's something beyond self-actualization, which is self-transcendence or spirituality. And he became very interested in Vedanta and Buddhism. So, they are the two are not different anymore. I'll give you an example and stop there. Notice what is the motto which Vivekananda gave for our Ramakrishna mission in his whole philosophy in one phrase: Atmano mokshartham jagat hitaya cha. For your own enlightenment and for the welfare of the world. They go together. Notice, if you go back to the Bible, when Jesus was asked, what are the most important commandments? Remember, it was a Jewish context, so commandments, religion of commandments. And Jesus said, first, he said that love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, all thy might. Number one. And then he said, and love thy neighbor. If you go even further back, Bhagavad Gita, the essence of the Bhagavad Gita, if you want to take it away in one phrase, essence of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says to Arjuna, Mam anusmara yudhyacha. Keep your mind on me, remember me. আমাকে মনে রেখো, তোমার মন আমাতে রেখো, এবং তুমি জীবনের যুদ্ধটা করে যাও. And fight the battle of life. Notice this and is there always. So, the reason why the and is there is because you and this universe are not separate. আমরা ওটা ভাবি because we are split into subject and object. All our experiences, I am subject, this is object, but ultimately subject and object are not different. ওইটাই অদ্বৈতর কোর আইডিয়া. Yes.
So, a two-part question. One part is the concept of God. What is the exact definition of God in like Vedanta?
Yes. So some people, the question is, what is the exact definition of God in Vedanta? I'll give you two answers. One is the direct definition, which is Satchidananda, existence, consciousness, bliss. And there, of course, the word God is an English word. The word used in Vedanta, the multiple words are used, Brahman, Brahma. The word Brahma just means vast, unlimited. So there is an unlimited reality which is pure existence, pure consciousness, pure bliss. However, is the use of the word God wrong? No, not wrong. Because in the Abrahamic religions, what God means, the basic definition of God in Abrahamic religions would be the creator of the world. That also is admitted in Vedanta. The second definition of God is Srishti Sthiti Pralayakarta. There is some power which creates this universe, sustains it and destroys it. So the Vedantic idea of Brahman, Ishvara, Bhagavan, and the English word God are not totally separate. Well, let's finish this.
You said a power who is the like creator, destroyer, everything. Is that a supernatural power not which cannot be proved by today's science?
Here is the beauty of Vedanta. See, if you go to most of the devotional religions, they talk about a supernatural God. In Christianity, Islam, Judaism, you'll find supernatural God. Ekta kichu ache. How do you know? Bishwash. Whereas in Vedanta, we are not talking about that. When you're talking about existence, existence is all around you. All this is existence. We're talking about consciousness. Consciousness is you, your own experience of consciousness. So, Sat Chit Ananda is not about something entirely supernatural. It is transcendental, but it's also here. It's talking about you. See, the amazing thing about Advaita Vedanta is Tattvamasi. You are that. So we are literally talking about not something supernatural, but you, your real nature. একজন খুব মানে আজকালকার দিনে বলা যেতে পারে বিদগ্ধ বিদুষী. She's also from the Bengali community. She is probably one of the leading intellects of the world today. Colombiate achen. I don't know if you remember, you know what I'm talking about. Gayatri Chakraborty's Piva. So she told me once, Maharaj, kono supernatural, transcendental kotha bola jabe na. Ekhane ja ache sei kotha bolun. And I said, this is what Vedanta is talking about. Ekhane ja ache. Kintu ekhane ja ache otaকে investigate it in depth, you will find Brahman. This is Vedanta. Vedanta dabi eta. Yes.
Thank you for letting a woman ask this question.
Yes.
I'm still trying to understand what consciousness is. Is it an emotion?
So I'm still trying to understand what consciousness is. Is it an emotion? Well, that's the big quest today. What is consciousness? But I'll try to define it in a way that is accepted by modern consciousness studies also. See, consciousness is that which makes first-person experience possible. Look at first-person. What do I mean by first-person experience? Right now, I and you and everybody else, all us human beings and all the living beings here, we are having something very interesting. All of us, all the time. We are seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, experiences. Anubhav, jetake amra anubhav boli, anubhuti boli. We are thinking, enjoying, suffering, waking, dreaming, sleeping. Age experience hocche. The Christoph Koch, who is the leading neuroscientist today, uni at a boi likhechen or naam diyechen the feeling of life itself. That's the best way of describing consciousness. It's so global. Amar joto anubhav hocche jibone. It's all possible because of consciousness. Consciousness or awareness. Emotion, certainly. Understanding, certainly. Memory, certainly. Forgetting, certainly. I'm kotha bolte parchi, certainly. Enjoy korchi, that is also because of consciousness. Dukkho parchi, koshto parchi, that's also because of consciousness. Dr. Anil Seth is a neuroscientist in England. He put it very briefly. He said, deep blue হচ্ছে কম্পিউটার যেটা চেস গ্র্যান্ডমাস্টারদের হারিয়ে দিয়েছে এখন তো আরো কত বেরিয়ে গেছে কিছু. He said deep blue is smart in a way that a mouse is not smart, but a mouse can suffer. Deep blue cannot suffer. একটা ইঁদুর বেড়াল ধরলেই তার কষ্ট হচ্ছে ভেতরে, আমরা মোটামুটি বুঝতে পারি কষ্ট হচ্ছে তার. কিন্তু কম্পিউটার সে একটা গ্র্যান্ডমাস্টারকে যদি সে যদি চেসে হেরে যায় তার কোনো কষ্ট হবে না. So there is no inner, there is nobody in there. Lights are out. And in another way, I'll just point it out, very interesting. এটা আমার স্ট্রাইক করলো. See, এখন এই গুগল সেলফ ড্রিভেন কার্স হয়েছে. I saw it in San Francisco. এখানে হয়তো এখন আসেনি, ইউজ হচ্ছে না, but you can see it there. You are driving a car and this other car pulls up next to you. There's no driver there. কোনো প্যাসেঞ্জারও নেই, just ফাঁকা চলছে আপনার সঙ্গে, and driving like you are driving and maybe better than you, and it's doing everything that the human driver is doing except one. Human driver, as a driver, you have feelings. You are seeing forms around you. You are feeling, you are hearing sound. Car, onno gadi sound, nijer gadi sound shunte pacchen. You are having decisions you are making in your mind. Ekhane turn korbo na, feeling of tension. Egulo sob apnar moner moddhe asche as a part of driving a car. এই কোনোটাই কিন্তু এই গাড়িতে নেই। It's doing externally, behaviorally, it's doing exactly what you are doing. Internally নেই। এই যে মেশিনগুলো, these intelligent machines, robots, এখন artificial intelligence, chat GPT ইত্যাদি, they do not have consciousness. You might say, who told you? How do you know? Don't ask me. Ask those people who have programmed it. That you have made chat GPT, you have made Google self-driven car. Have you put consciousness in there? They will laugh. They will say, we have no idea what you're talking about. Answer one question, very interesting question. These machines, especially now, especially AI, they are demonstrating intelligence. They are demonstrating memory. They are demonstrating creativity. গল্প লিখছে, কবিতা লিখছে। আমি চ্যাট জিপিটিকে বললাম স্বামী বিবেকানন্দের উপর কবিতা, পরপর একটা খুব সুন্দর, বেশ ভালো কবিতা। আমি বলবো না মাস্টারপিস বলে, কিন্তু ভালো কবিতা। আচ্ছা, আরো পাওয়ারফুল কি, নেক্সট মোমেন্ট বললাম আরেকটা কবিতা লিখে দাও, স্বামীজির উপর লিখে দিল। আপনি সারাদিন যদি ওকে বলতে থাকেন কবিতা লিখতে থাকো, ও লিখে যাবে। And all each will be different, not bad. So creativity, একটা পেইন্টিং কম্পিটিশন জিতে গেল, AI করা পেইন্টিং। একটা ম্যাগাজিন বন্ধ হয়ে গেল, কেন? এত গল্প সাবমিশন পড়ছে যে ওরা আর ছাপাতে পারছে না, ম্যাগাজিনটা উঠে গেল। All of those stories are written by AI. আচ্ছা, আজগুবি নয়, মোটামুটি মানে বি গ্রেড হলেও একটা লেভেল আছে গল্পগুলো। সো ক্রিয়েটিভিটি, এই মেশিনগুলো ক্রিয়েটিভিটি করছে এক্সটার্নালি। আর এভরিথিং দ্যাট এ হিউম্যান বিং কুড ডু, we thought were unique to human beings, these machines are able to do except one thing. Except one thing, they are not conscious. ভেতরে কোনো অনুভূতি নেই, যেটাকে আপনি অনুভব, অনুভূতি, সুখ, দুঃখ এগুলো বলছেন। হ্যাঁ, রাইট ফ্রম রং সে বাইরের থেকে অ্যানালাইজ করে বলে দেবে, এটা করা উচিত না ওটা করা উচিত, সে বলে দেবে আপনাকে। ভেতরে কোনো অনুভূতি নেই তার। রং জিনিস করলে তার কি কষ্ট হচ্ছে? ভেতরে কোনো কষ্ট ব্যাপার নেই। ভালোটা করলে তার কি আনন্দ হচ্ছে? কোনো আনন্দের ব্যাপার নেই। সো this consciousness, now my question is this: intelligence is a complex thing, creativity is even more complex, very difficult. You have trained a machine to be creative and intelligent. Consciousness is very simple that way. Consciousness does only one thing, it gives you anubhav, experience. And anubhav hocche amar bhetore, first person experience. সেটা কেন করতে পারছি না আমরা মেশিনে? Therefore consciousness cannot be produced mechanically. It's quite different from everything else, and Vedanta is very clear about it. আমাদের ক্রিয়েটিভিটি, ইন্টেলিজেন্স সবকিছু বেদান্ত বলছে বিজ্ঞানময় কোষের প্রোডাক্ট। It's part of the Vijnanamaya Kosha. But consciousness is not part of the Vijnanamaya Kosha. Consciousness is you. They are distinct. এই যে কনসিয়াসনেস আর মাইন্ডের ডিস্টিংশনটা মডার্ন কনসিয়াসনেস স্টাডিজ বুঝতে পারছে না। আমি তো বলছি এই একটা কেস স্টাডি, এটা জবাব কেউ দিতে পারিনি এখন। এই যে বললাম যে কেন machines are able to replicate everything about human beings except consciousness. আজকে yes, right. So the question is, এখন যেটা ঠিক আছে, বাট 100 বছর পরে যদি কনসিয়াস হয়ে যায় মেশিন, so this is called, এর নাম আছে promissory materialism. So promissory materialism হচ্ছে যে এখন কনসিয়াস নয়, কিন্তু আমাদের সময় দিন 30-40 বছর, তারপরে কনসিয়াস হয়ে যাবে।